By far, the biggest win by a football team from the state of Oregon on Saturday was won by the Oregon State Beavers. Hello, I am Aaron Fentress, trolling Duck fans to start the Beaver Banter podcast. Of course, we all know Oregon beat Ohio State, but there was another team that got a big win over the weekend, and that was the Beavers defeating Hawaii 45 to 27, at Research Stadium. I'm here with Nick Daschel, who was at the game. We're going to talk about that game, the quarterback situation, the running game, the defense. Third down, a little shaky. We're going to talk about Idaho, and we're going to look ahead to the Pac-12 season, since we might as well skip past Idaho. Jonathan Smith won't do that, but we can do that as we look ahead to see if this team can scratch out 4 or 5 more wins to become a bowl game team. Nick, you were there on Saturday. Give me a brief overview real quick about what you felt, how this team looked, how this team played, how this team survived a little bit in the second half. It got dicey. What'd you think?
Offense, really good. Defense, good on first and second down. Defense, not very good on third down. That's the nutshell version of it. I don't know. Where should we start with on this? I mean, they were supposed to beat Hawaii. They handled Hawaii. I mean, I know some Beaver fans are upset about the third down stuff. But it still was 45-27, and for the first time in 6 years, they got a chance to be 2-1, or they got a chance to be above 500 for the first time in 6 years if they win this Saturday.
Thinking about college football, right? There's always something to complain about or blow out of proportion. Okay, let's start with the quarterback situation. As we all know, game 1, Neuer started. Chance Nolan came in, finished, did well. Got the start against Hawaii and pretty much lit it up, right? 21 of 29, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, rushed for 48 yards. Jonathan Smith pretty much said today, I think, or maybe it was Sunday, that, hey, you can't really take the job from him after that type of performance. He also said that during the week last week, the team just seemed to play with more confidence when he was in the game. How did you feel about his performance, especially coming, from a week in which he had to compete, hold on to it?
Well, I can't argue with anything Jonathan said. I mean, it was, great. It was pretty good. I mean, I hate the word great because it gets used way too much. But it was a very
Amazing.
good. It was a very good performance. I mean, he started out. He hit his Chance Nolan in his first 13 passes. I mean that's a way to start off a game is to get hot and stay hot for a while. He didn't miss guys. He underthrew a couple of balls, but I mean, you throw 29 balls, you're going to miss a few. He ran when he needed to. He didn't just run at the first hint of a pass rush. Although I would say the offensive line blocked extremely well. There was times when you just watched the line. It was like this big line right in front of Chance Nolan with nobody. I mean, he could just stand back there. The only sack he had all day was on him when he stood there for 5+ seconds trying to find somebody when he should have thrown it away. But he was rock solid and helped by a really good running game on Saturday. That's the foundation of Oregon State's offense is running the football. And taking a little bit of pressure off the quarterback to set up the passing game, and they were in the around 250 yards of rushing on Saturday, and that was the offense that we would want to see out of Oregon State.
You mentioned the offensive line; they did a good job against the blitz as well with the backs and the tight end, creating a clean pocket. Chance does a great job of stepping up in the pocket and delivering a very accurate throw, which allows the receivers to make plays after the catch. How did you feel about the receiving crew and its connection with the quarterback?
Well, the big surprise from the game was Anthony Gould. He was started for the first time in his career. He's been at Oregon State for 3 years. He's caught 1 ball in his entire life at Oregon in a game at Oregon State, and he comes out. He catches 4 in the first quarter. He had 6 by halftime and 7 for the game. I mean, he was
19 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he was the top. I mean, he came to Oregon State as the guy potentially to blow the top off of defense because he's a fast guy. He was one of the fastest track runners in high school when he was at West Salem High School. But he hasn't worked his way in the lineup yet. He got a chance with Tyjon Lindsey being out, and he took advantage of it. Trayvon Bradford was like he typically plays. He caught, I think, 6 balls. He was in the mix all the time. And really the only thing that we didn't see much of was the tight ends again. in terms of the passing game. But again, that could have just been scheme or whatnot. But yeah, the receivers had a decent day. There was a couple of drops. Outside of that was, again, I mean, it's hard to nitpick the offense from Saturday. It was, I mean, they finished the game with, I think it was an 18-play drive, to run out a lot of clock. And I mean, just hard to nitpick the offense.
So if I'm Sam Neuer, though, I'm like, yo, man, I could have lit up Hawaii too. I mean, where's my shot to show what I can do? Clearly, as of right now, Chance is the starter. But do you think that Neuer is going to have chances to either A, shine against Idaho, or B, right on Chance's heels moving into the Pac-12, so that if Chance stumbles, they can immediately go back to Neuer?
I think the only question at this point is if Chance Nolan continues to play like this, he's their guy. I think the only question will be is when Tristan Gebbia gets back to full health. If Nolan's not playing great at that time, that's a possibility. They look at that situation then. But I think for now he's the starter. He's the starter for this next week, and unless he gets hurt or something, I think he's the starter for USC and against their new coach.
When do you think Gebbia could return?
Yeah, it's hard to say. He just started doing some workouts in practice. I'm going to say he's probably 2 to 3 weeks out, but I don't think they're going to rush it, especially if Chance Nolan's playing well. I mean, at this point, there's no point in rushing as long as Chance is playing well.
Okay. You mentioned the running game a little bit, though. Let's expand on that. BJ Baylor, 18 for 171, 3 touchdowns, 271 as a team, 6.1 yards per carry. Again, Hawaii, not the greatest defensive team in the universe, but did you feel like that there was just a lot more execution by Oregon State versus against Purdue, when I think they really struggled against that game, maybe 88 yards rushing? Or do you think it was just Hawaii being just unable to deal with a higher level of football?
A combination, probably a combination. I think there was a lot of soul searching last week, during practice with the offensive line not performing up to what they had hoped to be like against Purdue. I think there was some of that. I think BJ Baylor he's shown promise. In previous years in his career, his problem is A, there was Jamar Jefferson in front of him. And B, whenever he had the chance, he'd get hurt. And so, but he's shown some ability. And Saturday, he kind of showed what he could do when they give him the ball 18 to 20 times. I mean, he showed some speed. He had that 66-yard run on the outside where he pretty much ran away from guys. I don't know how fast those guys are, but I assume they're reasonably fast. Ran away from them, and he showed some good ability running tough up the middle. So, for now, I think he's kind of won the job, but I think Trey Lowe is going to play some, and Deshaun Fenwick is sort of been moved down to like third tier on this team for the moment.
Okay, I know you wanted to talk about the defense, especially the third down situation. You mentioned that fans are upset about that. 9 of 16 on third downs, not a good number at all. At the same time, this is what Hawaii does. They're a pretty good passing team. Cordero passed for 366 and 2 touchdowns. They're throwing for a lot of yards. You're probably getting some third down conversions in there. What did you feel about their performance on third down, and what did Smith say?
Well, I think the reason fans get all bent out of shape about it is because they've seen this act so many times in the past from Oregon State, where they'll play okay on first and second down and just let a team off the hook on third down, and that sort of reared its head on Saturday night again. I mean, they played. I think I came up with some numbers. First down, Hawaii averaged 5.4 yards, and that includes a 35-yarder and a 22-yarder among the first down plays. So take those out, and it's probably under 4. Second down, they averaged 4.1 yards a play. That includes a 40-yarder. So we take that out, and it's probably 2.5, 3 yards. Third down, 9.3 yards a play. They converted 9 third downs. Every one of them was 3rd and 7 or longer. I mean, that's bad. That's bad. You can't win in college football playing defense like that. Right. You can't let teams off the hook like that. You give up a few, sure, but 9 of them, that's hard. I mean, so Jonathan talked. He's concerned to a degree. He mostly likes to talk, and we need to clean some stuff up. This staffer loves to talk about cleaning stuff up, and so
do, man.
and the White and Cordero's going to make teams look like that a little bit because he can run around and he beats people with his legs a little bit. So there was that. You expect a few of those, but not 9 of them, and so that's something that's got to get fixed, and it may not get fixed this week against Idaho because I don't really expect those situations to come up. I mean, they're gonna have third and long situations, but they better not give up a bunch against Idaho. But when you get into the meat of the season, USC, Washington State, if you're playing well on first and second down, you need to finish it with a good third down.
Right. What do you think the biggest problem is? Is it coverage or is it pressure or both?
It was pressure. The pass rush has been there, but they don't finish. They don't put the guy on the ground. That wasn't the case at Purdue. They didn't get the guy on the ground, and they didn't really get him on the ground at Reeser on Saturday either. You let a guy get out of the pocket. I mean, guys run around. They get open. I mean, you can't cover guys forever. I don't remember what you played, but weren't you a coverage guy?
I was a receiver.
Oh, so you probably thought you were always open. So,
if you're a receiver that was ever covered.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just
but you gotta. I mean, the receiver's best friend is pass protection for the quarterback, obviously.
Yeah, but eventually you find a one-on-one situation if you can run around long enough, and those plays are going to be there, and so right. they got to get to the quarterback and make him throw some bad passes on third down.
So, Oregon State went up 21-0, 24-7 at half. Then it was 31-20 near the end of the third quarter, or at the end of the third quarter. Is that a situation where it's like, okay, you kind of let this team back in it? It's a little alarming, or was it just a matter of Hawaii got hot and things happened in college football? I didn't
really think it was because the offense was not. They couldn't stop Oregon State's offense. No, and so it's just. If they would have got within one score, maybe start thinking, okay, we got a game here. But 2 scores, I mean, it just didn't. And then when Oregon State got down 2 scores, they just took control of the offense and pretty much, ran 9-10 minutes off the clock, and that was that. But it really was. I didn't really feel. I mean, when you get up 21-0, it's you can let up a little bit, I guess. I mean, it really should. It really should have been 31-7 at halftime. I mean, Bradford caught about a 60-yard touchdown pass. They called holding. It was kind of a bogus call. I mean, they were. It was a dominant first half, just dominant.
So even when it was 38-27 with 10:38 remaining, you were never thinking, uh-oh.
Well, I didn't go to the point where I started rewriting my story, if that's what you mean. No, I mean, at Oregon, at 38-27, if Oregon State's offense had come out and gone 3 and out or something, then maybe I would have thought, okay. But they were moving the ball. They never had to worry about not getting some yardage with the running game. So they were always in situations where they could get to a 3rd and short and do something. When you got a Jack Coletto on the sidelines, if you can get it to a 4th and 1, you pretty much know you can convert those. So I never felt like it was ever in danger on Saturday.
And what was Smith's take?
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Other than clean it up, I mean.
He said something along the lines of, there's no such thing as a bad win, and things like that. He was happy enough. I just think, offensively, he had to walk away there feeling good, and defensively, they played well at Purdue, and maybe took a half step back on Saturday just because of the third down stuff. But it's not something that can't be remedied. And they've got some guys coming. They got Keontae Shad. They're probably their best defensive tackle. I shouldn't say he's their best, but he's a grad transfer from Minnesota. They were hoping was going to play. He got hurt in camp. He really didn't do much in camp. Well, he started Saturday and played a whole bunch. So I think once he starts getting some reps, the defensive line will be a little bit better. They're going to get Elijah Jones back. He's a grad transfer cornerback from Kansas, so they're going to have some more help back there. I'm not concerned, and the problem is you're playing Idaho this week, so you don't really know if things are going to get fixed or not, because Idaho shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so you have Idaho, then you start Pac-12 play against USC. As you mentioned, they fired their coach after 2 games. He was maybe on the chopping block. Was he on the chopping block last year, or was that 2 years ago?
Well, he's been on the hot seat for a couple.
Was he? Go ahead.
He's been on the hot seat for a couple of years. What I don't understand is,
what was the year though when SI.com reported he was out, but he wasn't? Was that last year?
I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Okay. 2 years ago. I mean, the problem is, you knew there was going to be there was a problem, and to fire a guy at the first pothole this season. Granted, it was a pretty big pothole. I mean,
Clay Helton's got to win.
Pretty big pothole. But I mean, you knew there was if you didn't think he was your guy, I mean, come on, just do it last January. Why would you wait on this? Why?
Well, the COVID year last year, I mean, they had a pretty good team, and they've been pretty solid. They just keep having these hiccups, right? So last year was COVID. I don't think you're going to do it last year. You're going to roll the dice with them, give them a chance. But when you go out and you get blown out by Stanford after they just got smoked by Kansas State, it just screams of the dysfunction that I think we've all seen the past 3 years. And I could totally see where they were like, well, we'll give you a chance this year, but oh my God, that was so egregious, we have to let you go.
But can you see this? Can you see this happening? USC running off 9 or 10 wins in a row. Now they've got, their interim coach is. People are going, hey, maybe we should hire him as be our coach, and it's just like, God, just go out and do a real coaching search and get a guy.
No, I think they will. I think they'll do one.
Well, they didn't do it last time.
He did win a conference championship just 3 or 4 years ago, right? With
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the guy's not a good coach. I'm just thinking from USC's. USC thinks it's a little bit better than the rest of us, and so go out and act like that. I guess I don't know. It's just
I kind of think they will, but that program, and Oregon State fans are probably like, why are they talking about USC so much? Because that's your first Pac-12 game. Who are they going to be? Like in 2 weeks, they just have had all this upheaval. Does this make them ripe for an upset? Are they even any good? But when you look at the recruiting rankings every year, they're reeling in star players. But there's a difference between being a highly touted recruit and a guy who actually loves football and wants the football and is going to grind and be disciplined. My God, they're so undisciplined. That Pac-12 title game last year against Oregon, their offensive line was just an absolute disaster. That's what lost them the game. Everywhere else, they were probably a little bit better than Oregon. But it's just amazing to me that you can recruit all that talent and not be able to put it together. And it just shows just how great Pete Carroll actually was, because they've struggled to put it together since then. So I'm going to skip ahead to Idaho. We all know they're going to beat Idaho. Do you think Oregon State has what it takes to go there and defeat what might right now either be a dysfunctional team in upheaval or a team that's going to get a new voice and maybe straighten out its act?
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm Oregon State, I would have liked to play against Clay Helton just because. Well, I just think you bring in a new guy, and for all I know, it's gonna energize them, and they're gonna start playing like the 5 and 4 star guys they have. I mean, so I don't see it as a good.
Maybe you can go beat them and get some of those guys to transfer to Oregon State.
Oh, maybe, I don't know, but they got USC has Washington State this week, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, can you imagine USC losing to Washington State and being 0-2 going into the Oregon State game? Oh my God, that'd be crazy. But I don't know. I just from an Oregon State standpoint, I wouldn't really like it, just because I just think it's something that could get them turned around. We've seen this before at USC with Helton and with Ed Orgeron. Same thing. I mean, they've had this happen a couple times. So,
okay, so that game's coming up, and of course, we're gonna assume that Oregon State beats Idaho. That puts you at 2-1. You need 4 more wins, right? 6 is still the bowl eligible number, right? They didn't change that.
No.
When I had to cover the Blazers, guys, I want to make sure. What's funny about college football is the teams that appear to be beatable or unbeatable sort of change week to week for a while. You don't know
Right.
what's going on. Like the Pac-12 North, the first week was just horrible, and now Oregon beats or Ohio
Ohio
State.
State.
Cal looks solid against TCU. Stanford blows out SC, etc. So, and then Oregon State beat Hawaii. So, the question now is, if we assume 2-1 going into Pac-12 play, can this Beavers team, based on what you've seen, because we're not, like you said, we're not going to learn much in the Idaho game unless they lose it. Does this team have enough to win 4 Pac-12 games? Given that the North is still a little shaky, SC, who knows what's going on with that team right now?
Well, they won 4 Pac-12 games in 2019 with a team with a team you could say certainly wasn't as good on the defensive side, and might not be quite as good on the offensive side just because there's no Isaiah Hodgins, no Jamar Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at who they got coming up. The SC. Who knows? They got Washington State. Those are certainly winnable games. Then you got a bye. You got Utah at home. Tough. That'll be a tough game. California, they play down there. They've beaten Cal the last 2 years. That's certainly a winnable game. Colorado at Colorado. That's a winnable game because I don't know if Colorado's going to have any offense at all this year. Right. And then you've got Stanford, Arizona State at home, and Oregon. So 4 wins. I see that October's being the big month to make hay. If you could beat Washington State, and Cal, or at least get 2 of those 3, that gets you to 4, and then maybe there's another surprise win somewhere, and then you just have to win 1 in November. So,
right.
And it's not like winning. It's not like we're talking about being great to get the 6 wins. I mean, you don't need to be great to win 6 games. You just need to be okay, because 6 and 6 means all you are is okay.
They haven't been okay in a long time. That's why.
No, they haven't been okay in a long time. Well, I agree.
Although they're definitely getting better, no doubt about that. Okay, so I'm going to say SC they're going to lose to, just because SC is going to out-athlete them. Like, even if SC has some dysfunction, they have so many athletes, I think they figure out a way to win that game against Oregon State. So they're 2-2 now after that. Washington State for me, if they can win both those, they're going to get 6. They split, it's a coin toss. They lose both of them, forget it. You can't split with those 2 teams. I can't see how they find, another, because if you split, even if you split, you still need to find 3 wins. If you don't get the split and lose 2, there's no way I see them winning 4 of their final 6 with Utah, Stanford, ASU, and Oregon. I just don't buy it. So they're going to have to split those Washington games.
I agree. They have to split, at least split with the Washington schools, and probably need to sweep. The problem is Washington State, and Stanford, those are teams they haven't beaten for a long, long, long time.
They almost had Washington last year, though. Well,
they've almost beaten Stanford a number of times, too, but they just can't finish it. So, but I mean, it seems like this is their best team in a while. Washington appears to be a little down. Washington State is down. And, Stanford, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Stanford yet. I wasn't sure. I thought they might have been the second worst team in the conference after last week, and then they go out and drill a USC. So I don't know. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, they got to split against the Washington schools. And I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but
it's Idaho week. What else are we going to do?
Right, exactly.
You want to go cover a bowl game, don't you?
It depends when it is. If it's right at Christmas, not really, because I like to see my kids. But I think it'd be fun for the Beaver fan base, but long way to go. If they can win these next 2, then I think then you start. If you win Idaho and SC, then things really start looking good. But
yeah, definitely. All right, let's shift. Let's give a little bit of talk about the Vandals, the Idaho. Yeah, the Vandals. I had to think for a second. Wait a minute. Yeah, Vandals. Idaho Vandals are 1-1. They got smoked by Indiana, 56-14. That was after they took down Simon Fraser 68-0. So, if I'm a Beavers fan, I want to see a similar score to what Indiana did to Idaho. To me, that's the benchmark. That's what you want. You want to drop 50-something. You want to hold them under 20. That, to me, would say a lot. If you win 44, 28, almost like this last game was, to me, against Idaho, that's not a loss, but it's not a good showing. It doesn't instill confidence that you're going to win 4 in the Pac-12. What do you think they need to do this weekend to sort of show that they have indeed improved and look like a team that can win 4 in the Pac-12?
Yeah, I mean, you're paying these guys $675,000 to come in and give you a W. That's what you're doing.
Can we get that?
What's that? Oh, yeah, no.
Can we get an Oregonian team?
No, I don't think they would give us that. But yeah, I mean, Indiana. I looked at the Indiana, just briefly looked at Indiana. I mean, Indiana didn't have. I think they had somewhere around 360 yards of offense, and they still scored 56 because they special teams just dominated stuff. Idaho's punter actually punted for Oregon State last year. He averaged 50 yards a punt on 7 punts, but I think one of them got returned for a touchdown, and another one got returned for quite a ways. So I just, man, yeah, we talked about being 31-7, almost 31-7 at half against Hawaii. It better be 31-7 at half against Idaho, because that's the difference between these two teams. I mean, it should be pretty immense.
I'm going to shift gears to something else real quick before we give our prediction. So you mentioned, I'm just making up a topic here. You mentioned Jebbia coming back in a few weeks. Do you think his return would raise the possibility that this team can win 4, or do you think Nolan will be just as good?
I mean, when they were playing and when they were at full health in camp, Jebbia looked like he was a better player. But I mean, you know how it goes in football. If your quarterback's hot, you don't fool around with it. You just don't mess with that. And so if he keeps playing like this, he's done this for 5 quarters now, which isn't very long, but I expect he's going to keep it up against Idaho. You know, if he goes down to SC and has a good game down there, I just think it's going to be tough for them to bring anybody in off the bench unless Nolan gets hurt, because you just don't mess around with a quarterback that shows he could play and move a football team. So I don't know. You know, Jebbia is kind of a week-to-week thing. I mean, we need to see him actually get in practice, get behind center, start throwing some passes, start running some offense for it. Really, it's even a discussion.
I hear you. Okay, so what's your prediction for Saturday? Idaho Vandals in the house.
You know, I picked it 48-7 this morning because Jonathan tends not to run up the score in these type of games. I mean, they got up on Cal Poly like 38-0 his first year. It was late in the second quarter. I think the final was 48-25. I mean, they just don't, and other teams they play, they just don't tend to run it up. I think I'll want to see, we might see Sam Vidlac Saturday, for all I know. The freshman quarterback that Oregon State fans think is, the next Heisman Trophy winner at some point. I could see it being, pretty much over by halftime, and then Oregon State playing a lot of guys in the second half to get them some experience. So on paper you could say it's going to be 60-14, but I just don't think Jonathan's going to press the pedal that hard once it's in hand.
All right, I was going to go 56-14 just to match the Indiana score, but you make some great points, and now I'm going to drop it down to 46-14. Oregon State, they take care of business, make an easy win out of it, get a lot of experience for some younger guys, and get ready for the mighty. How do you get
to 46? I'm trying to think how you get to 4.
You missed an extra point or something.
The kicker is money; he doesn't miss. So I figure out.
Are you one of these guys who like nitpicks the score and wants to know?
Yeah. Well, I like to have a realistic score.
The Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl 46-10. So they got 46.
Well, they were a weird team. So yeah, it would take a safety or something like that. So okay, Aaron's calling for the defense to rise up and get a safety on Saturday.
You go for 2 or something?
No, you want to go against Idaho? No, that's not going to happen.
Okay, 47-14.
Okay, there you go. 40. Yeah, 47 because that's 4 field goals. So yeah, that makes more. Yeah, that's better. Well, I love math, so
All right. Anything else you want to touch on with these mighty Beavers?
No, I talked to the Pac-12 commissioner today, and I'll have something on Oregon Live tomorrow. Pretty much the entire interview was about Oregon State related things, since he was at Oregon State last week, and I'll have something on there. He was pretty. I asked him questions like, can you assure Oregon State alums that they're going to be in this for the long haul as part of the Power Fives and Pac-12s, and questions like that. And so we'll see what those answers say tomorrow on Oregon Live.
All right, be sure to check that out, and also be sure to return next week to the Beavers Banter podcast as we take a small relook at the Idaho game, unless something dramatic happens. But we talk a lot about the USC game and preview Oregon State as they head into the Pac-12, where they look to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2013?
Correct.
2013. Man, 8 years. It's got to happen. It's bound to happen. This is the year. I want to see it happen.
I mean,
we need the Beavers back. We need the Beavers back as a formidable foe in the North. All right. Be sure to click the subscribe button, give us a positive rating, and we'll see you back here next week on the Beaver Banter podcast.